Welcome to the Rock Music Alliance interview sessions. I'm your host, Cole Coleman, along with keyboardist Claudio Pesavento, who's from Mahogany Rush and the Chris Squire Band. On our show today, you know him from his many years playing with rock legend Lita Ford, but also from his early days in the Union Underground, and he's also his own artist, heading up the band Heaven Below. Welcome to our show, Patrick Kennison.
Thanks for having me, Cole. Great to be here. Love it.
Great to have you, man. So, Patrick, what is the latest news from your world? Any tours and new releases coming up?
A few things, yeah. Always out with Lita Ford most of the year, but we've had a little break of just a few weeks, and I'm working on an album with my band that I front, with Heaven Below, and my wife, Nikki, from the Iron Maidens. Also, she's a solo artist. We've been working on this Heaven Below record off and on forever. And we're blessed that we are able to tour with the Iron Maidens, and I'm able to tour with Lita Ford. But when we're not doing that, we don't sit at home and chill. We work on our solo stuff, and we work on Heaven Below. So the new Heaven Below album is finally starting to look like there's a light at the end of the tunnel for it. And I've been sitting in this studio since we recorded tracks, getting it mixed, getting people with amazing resumes to help me, because I'm not interested in being Trent Reznor or Prince or our heroes like that. That's too much. I would never want that kind of weight to have to do everything. But we're getting it done, and then at the end of the week, I head out to Los Angeles to do a Dio benefit with Lita, of course, and also have a studio session to finish all the drum tracks for the Heaven Below album. We're old school. We don't just program all the drums like so many bands do now with their software. That's fun for some songs, but I have that old school vibe. I like loud amplifiers and real drums. And then I like to mix that with technology. I think it's like CGI and making puppets is probably what makes a great movie. I feel like that's what makes great music, is mixing those two things together.
I absolutely agree. On a personal level, that's exactly the approach that I take as well. I like a mix of electronic and real drums. That's great. So and in today's world, it's incredible. You can actually do things like that, remote. I mean, there's a lot of drummers that have their own studios at home. They can take your tracks and, go back and forth. It's terrific. It's a great time. So I heard you say you're going to be coming to LA soon to do that Ronnie James Dio. It's the Rock for Ronnie. I think it's called Rockin' for Ronnie.
Ronnie, I've done it before. It's outdoors.
Right for Ronnie.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, I'm
sorry. It's called the Ride for Ronnie, but it's gonna be at Woodland Hills in the big park there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure Claudio's going to be there.
Awesome.
If I get some invites from what's his name? Patrick? No.
There we go. I know you know people other than me.
Yeah.
I know the VIP list. I don't handle that shit, but obviously, it's gonna be a lot of people that want to get in on the VIP area.
Well, you're always welcome with Lita Ford and the whole crew. You know that. You don't even have to ask.
Nice invitation. And don't forget me. I'll take that.
All right, there.
You can bring the guitar.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to be there this year.
Sneak in, Ferrari.
Hell yeah.
Now, what is the new Heaven Below release going to be titled?
It's called The Majestic 12. Look that up on your Google machine. It's pretty interesting to find out what The Majestic 12 is. And it's not a concept album, even though it seems like it's presented as one. It's 12 songs. There's a lot of it's thematic. It has a movie scope about it. It talks about aliens. It talks about the current state of our country and our social, emotional place that we're at. It covers that stuff. It's not preaching from the rooftops, but it's an album that's been in the works for a long time. Honestly, almost half of it was already written, because we had an album called Good Morning Apocalypse, a concept album that came out in 2016, had a lot of legendary cameos. Of course, Lita Ford, Jason McMaster, people like this were on it. And it was a concept album. We had 24 songs for that album, but our drummer said, this is getting ridiculous. Can we please just release 12 songs? And so we released the 12 songs that became that album that got wonderful critical acclaim, especially in Europe. And there was a lot of leftover songs that weren't done. So half of the Majestic 12 is from those sessions, and I had to reapproach the songs lyrically so they made sense now. And that was a challenge because they were connected to a story. So I dismantled some of them lyrically and vocally, and I repurposed them for now. And surprisingly, we were surprised how fresh they felt with their repurposed lyrics. And then of the other half of the album, it's all mixed up together, is brand new stuff too. So the Majestic 12 is going to release this summer.
That's terrific, man. And that's probably a good move, a 24 song album. Whoa,
Yeah, I get ambitious. I've always been an ambitious creative person like you. And, we want to make double albums. We want to have orchestras. And then sometimes you say, you know what, that stuff is awesome. That usually works on a fifth or sixth record. And the reality comes in and you streamline it. And that's what we did on Good Morning Apocalypse. And that's kind of what we're doing on Majestic 12. We're streamlining it. We do have one of our longest songs recorded, which I didn't realize till a couple of days ago and someone pointed it out. We have an 8-minute song at the end of the record. But, I've been listening. I love Rush. I love Yes. I listened to that lately. I've even listened to some Styx, and we sound nothing like those bands. But man, if it wasn't fun to have a song go off into a synthesizer solo, to have an orchestral section, to just to have a Latin choir at times. I don't even care if it's popular. We want to do that. And so that's what we're doing, 2112, best records of the 70s. Who cares if it was on the radio or not? It's a great album. So we're approaching stuff like that.
I'm the same way. I mean, I like good music. I don't care if it's gonna be popular or whatever. It's about my conscience.
Exactly. That's where your heart is. And if you chase a radio sound, you end up sounding like these bands that barely have any hits or they go away fast. They're chasing the invisible carrot, I call it. And you're obviously the kind of player that doesn't need to chase an invisible carrot. We're just fulfilling our needs as a creative.
Yeah. It'd be great.
I grew up with good music. Obviously the 70s was the best music to me.
Oh,
80s was good too, but 70s was so many songs, man. Like, wow.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good music out there from really all the decades. You just have to, you got to zero in on the stuff that you really like. But I found good music from pretty much every decade. There's somebody out there doing great stuff.
Yeah, those days was different because it was no Pro Tools, no.
Yeah,
you had to play it. You had to be able to play it in a room, and you captured music in the 70s. Now you have to Frankenstein so many musics today.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Frankenstein, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the bands of the 70s, I mean, they were just playing their instruments, guys. I mean, it was a lot tougher to do. It's more impressive when you hear that music. It's like, oh my God, these guys, this is all done organically. It's all done without the digital stuff or sequencers. It's really amazing, So what style of rock or metal would you put your new album in?
Gosh, that's hard to ask me. I'm so close to it. I'd have to pull back a little. I would call it ambitious hard rock. I wouldn't use the word prog. I wouldn't use anything like that. But I feel like at times we're ambitious. But honestly, kind of like some of my favorite bands, we don't care about the style. One of my favorite bands is Cheap Trick. And sometimes they're a pop band and sometimes they're a heavy metal band. And a lot of times Cheap Trick is an alternative band. So I want to be like that. So I would say I call it ambitious, edgy rock is what I call it.
Well, the world of rock is big, so you can do what you want to do there. I would put it sort of in the alternative melodic hard rock area, from what I've heard of it so far, I mean, it's got layers and layers of stuff going on, which is great. And it's also got kind of a quirky, twisted vibe to it, which is also good. Very cool stuff, Who's all playing on the album?
Not a bunch of cameos like Good Morning Apocalypse had. It's just the core band. It's myself, it's Nikki, it's our drummer Shad, Our bass player John contributed a lot of tracks on bass. I played bass on some of the newer tracks, and we've got just a few people outside of the band. This Russian composer named Ayin Alif that had some success in Russia. She's a French-Russian composer. I got her on some of the orchestration and stuff like that. My buddy Bill McFadden from California did some of the keyboards, and I have a horn section on some of the songs, a real live horn section, which was so fun to come up with the arrangement and then have real horn players do it. And I've always wanted horns in my music, but it's never worked out. It only took 30 years, and now horns are working on the new Heaven Below album.
Which is amazing. You know, that's definitely something you don't typically hear in hard rock or metal, you know?
For it, I remember hearing, some of it in the 80s with bands like Extreme or Aerosmith, and it was cool on the poppy thing, but I was like, man, horns can be haunting, and someone heard one of our new songs and they said, it sounds like Hawaii Five-0 if it was played in hell by the devil. And I was like, I guess that's a compliment.
Well, it's like Peter Gabriel, Sledgehammer, that's right there, horn section.
Absolutely. I don't care if it's popular or not. I just know I like it. I like the way it sounds.
Amazing. I know you're very busy touring, with Lita Ford. We all know that. Do you think you'll have a chance to tour with this album?
I pray to all of my dead relatives that we do. I would love to have the problem of the first world problem of having both artists being happen at the same time. But honestly, as people know, to tour on something that is not successful through a label is a whole different set of problems. And we hope to do it. We'll definitely regionally be performing, and I'm sure we'll make our way to California. But the truth is, when we play with the Iron Maidens and we play with Lita Ford, those are tried and true things that promoters pay a lot of money for without me going into it. And so maybe Heaven Below and Nikki Stringfield solo would need to be an internet sensation, and then we could get the money for it. And I
TikTok. TikTok sensation.
Gotta dream big. I gotta dream big. Yes, but we are going to tour with it. But we're working musicians. We don't have a bankroll from a label or a guy who smokes a cigar. It's our money that does it. So therefore, we have to bring economics into it. But at some point, yes, we will tour with it.
Yeah, that would be terrific to see. Well, let's take a sample listen to one of the songs. We have "Suffer the Masses" here. How about let's see. We'll do about the first minute and a half of the song, called "Suffer the Masses." So here we go. About the first minute and a half of "Suffer the Masses" by Heaven Below on the Rock Music Alliance Radio Network. Great stuff, Patrick. Very interesting. It's intense. I'm hearing the horns you're talking about. I'm hearing the horns in there. It's just so unusual to have horns, but it works. You know, the intensity of the horns really does kind of work with the guitars, I think.
I thought so too. You know, I love 70s music and I love Thin Lizzy and UFO and all this early stuff, even Mahogany Rush, Claudio's thing. And sometimes you just can't help but start putting stuff like that into your music. You know, it's the 70s are a perfect Bible to come from. And maybe the horns, you know, were influenced like that. I know my storage unit that I had in California, they always played these 50s and 60s songs when I was in the storage unit getting guitars. And I always heard these amazing horn sections and Marvin Gaye songs and stuff that I would never listen to. It starts to creep into your music at some point.
Yeah. It's like, when people talk about influences, literally for musicians, I think most musicians, I mean, it's everything you listen to at some point. You know, you have your main influences, but everything you're hearing is going into your soul, your being, and rattling around in there. You know.
Absolutely.
I have something to tell you about that because Larry Carlton, he plays all the sax lines when he plays guitar. He's influenced by all the sax jazz players, you know. That's what he does. That's why his style is different than other ones because he does the sax.
Yeah.
That's I think sometimes when I heard Jeff Beck, I used to wonder if he listened to people other than guitar players because he treated his like a saxophone almost.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm sure he did. I knew a bebop jazz player once long ago when I was first starting out. He was a teacher. He was a phenomenal player. His name was Russ Roberts, and went to go see him play live at clubs. But he used to emphasize, he'd be teaching, and he would say things like, "You want to be the horn, guys. You want to be the horn. Be the horn." I'm like, "What's he talking about? I want to play guitar, man." And he's like, "But that was his sensibility. Was you want to be your phrasing and your emotions. It was what he was trying to get across. Be emotional like a horn player."
Vocal instrument, a saxophone and a trumpet and even a trombone, they're very vocal instruments. And I guess if you approach your keyboard or your guitar like that, you can stick out in the song without filling it with a million notes because that can be fun. Yeah. So I think I get that what that guy said when he would say that.
Yeah. And in my own playing style, that's what I enjoy a lot is, man, I like a few speed riffs here and there, but I love, when you bending the note and do like, the micro bend or the quarter bend, for expression, it's cool.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, you've been working with Lita Ford, for about 10 years now. And how did you first get the gig with Lita? Lita, how did that come about?
Way back in 2014. Can you believe that was 10 years ago? It feels like 2 years ago. My buddy was the president of BC Rich Guitars. And I had an endorsement with BC Rich for years back in the early 2000s and on with Union Underground. And my buddy said, "I have a gig for you. It's Lita Ford." And he says, "You sing so well. I'll bet you'll get the gig and she'll have you sing the Ozzy Osbourne, Close My Eyes Forever." And we laughed. I said, "Ha ha, that would be so funny." And so I got the gig and I learned all her backing vocals because Marty, the bass player, said, "Man, you sing well. Sing all the backing harmonies." And I showed up and I did. And she gave me the gig that night. And less than a month later, she said, "Can you sing the Ozzy part of Close My Eyes Forever?" And so I called my buddy from BC Rich, the president. I said, "I guess you were right." She hired me and I'm singing the Ozzy Osbourne part now. So even though the guitar is so important, I think back, I feel like she gave me the gig because I knew all the harmonies and I could sing everything. So I always tell people mastering your instrument is the first thing, but you have to be able to do more than just your initial instrument. And I feel like that's why she hired me.
Probably. I mean, she does keep the band small, like it's a 4-piece live, right?
Yep. No backing tracks or anything. She made a joke one time and she said my throat was the backing track. And just my harmonies or whatever. So, and I world important. Yeah.
So Martin Anderson is playing with you guys now?
Yep, that's the bass player, Martin Anderson.
From Sweden.
He's amazing.
He's a great player.
You know Martin, Claudio?
Yeah, I do. I do. I know him since he was playing with the what's the band?
Steelheart or something like that, or Lizzie Borden.
Steelheart. Wow,
Oh,
man.
both of those. But there was another one that he played with.
George Lynch
Yeah,
also.
Lynch. Yeah, Lynch. Exactly. That's when I saw him playing the first time. Yeah.
Nice.
So you talking about "Close My Eyes Forever." That is one of my favorite songs in all of rock.
Nice.
Is Lita's "Close My Eyes Forever." It captures really to me, it's like the essence of metal itself is in that song.
Who wrote it?
And
Ozzy and Lita wrote it. No outside writer on that. No producer, writer, no nothing. It's Lita and Ozzy.
Very good.
yeah, and it's pretty cool. I mean, you get to sing the Ozzy Osbourne parts. You get to sing it with Lita night after night. I wonder, what was it like for you when you first started singing that song with Lita?
It was actually her and I did a run of acoustic shows, just her and I. And I have the picture I've posted on social media. I'll have to send it to you of her looking at me and me laughing. And that was her telling me, you need to sing the Ozzy. And there's a picture of us with acoustic. So I had to play acoustic, never mind the whole big band. Luckily, I have experience doing acoustic shows way back to the late 90s even. And that, as you know, was even more daunting sometimes because it's acoustic. It's not loud. It's pristine. It's like glass. You can really hear if you're on or not. So it was a trial by fire to play it unplugged first, and then I got to play it once we went back to playing the full shows again.
Wait, was there like a wow moment, like you're opening your mouth to sing, and it's like, I can't believe I'm doing this?
Yeah, because when I was a teenager, I saw Lita play in 1989 or 90, and I have the ticket stub, and I took it to our rehearsal, and I showed her. I said, "You don't remember a guy with long black hair and acne in the front?" And she, and I would never have thought that that's how the future would end up. But yeah, sometimes I have to literally close my eyes, and get into the moment and pinch myself and say, wow, I'm singing this. I better do a good job because this is a really legendary song. So I try to really make sure I do it justice.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I have to ask a logical, journalistic type question here, and that's, obviously, I mean, you're a very creative fellow, good producer. Lita hasn't been releasing new music for like 10 years. It's like, why are you not co-writing with Lita on new material, or are you?
I get it. I get asked that all the time, and her and I have penned some songs together. But the truth of the matter is, she has a great relationship with Gary Hoey on the songwriting and production end. And he did her last studio album, Living Like a Runaway, which is a great album, great title track song. And I don't know. I haven't broken the barrier of being there with Gary and Lita. I've written songs with Lita one-on-one. And honestly, when and if it's meant to happen, it will. I have a lot of music that comes out of me all the time. And luckily, I'm married to a badass. And we wake up in the morning and have coffee and 3 chords and some lyrics. We have a song. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen. That's what I say. Now, I record on her new album that's supposed to be out sooner or later. I am singing backups on many of the songs. Her and Gary would reach out to me and say, "Are you in your studio right now?" I said, "Well, I'm close." And they said, "Okay, we need you to sing this, that, and this thing." And they would send me the stems, and I would do my backing vocals. So I'm on the new Lita Ford album.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Attention guitar players, join the thimble slide revolution and free your slide finger. The thimble slide is a mini guitar slide designed to be worn on the tip of your finger, about 3/4 of the way down your fingernail. When worn there, you can still bend your finger, and most importantly, it's allowing enough of your fingertip through so you can press the guitar strings. The thimble slide is larger at the back and smaller at the front, so it follows the contour of your finger. So when you're wearing the slide, it's not loose or rattling around on your fingertip. This also allows your other fingertips in nice and close for playing. The sizing gap allows you to make the slide a little bit larger or a little bit smaller for a nice custom fit. So while you're wearing a thimble slide, you can, of course, use it as a slide. But more importantly, it allows you to still fret the strings so you can play the guitar. You can play chords. You can play lines while wearing it. You can bend strings with your ring finger. You can drag your fingertip across the strings if you need to. You can do pull-offs, hammer-ons. So there you go. You can actually still really do all the things you need to do to keep playing guitar. It's like
with its patented shape, you can slide and fret while wearing the thimble slide. Visit thimbleslide.com. That's thimbleslide.com.
You mentioned Gary Hoey. That's kind of a mind blower. I never would have guessed Gary Hoey being involved with Lita Ford, but yeah, I guess they have some history as well. He's also been a player for Lita, right?
Yeah, he did when she made some kind of comeback, and I don't know if it was family or his other band or what, but he couldn't commit to it long term. But he did do some shows with her. But they have a great working relationship with his studio, and he's a great producer songwriter all his own. He's so nice that you imagine in your head that a great producer songwriter is supposed to be this quiet, introverted guy. That's the farthest thing from the truth. Some of the biggest names I've worked with, and many people work, they're outgoing, extroverted people. You haven't seen them that way yet, whether it's Desmond Child or yeah. I could do the list of big producers that are hilarious, great people.
Yeah. So Claudio, have you worked with Desmond Child?
Yeah, I did. So
amazing.
Anyway, I'm working with this guy, Ben Owen, that he's from England. His music sounds like 80s, but like
yes, it's melodic rock. Good
like
good solid
really,
rock.
Really good. So I want to tell you that this girl that owns the rights, well, the guy that died actually was the manager for the Runaways. He left all her publishing to her, so she wanted me to recreate one of the Runaway songs with Ben, with this guy from England.
Interesting.
She lives in Nashville, and she sent me 2 songs. I forgot the names now because I don't have them on my phone now. But yeah, but funny that
small world.
They want him to sing a song from the Runaways, so like that it will break him into the market here. I guess I don't know.
Maybe he could ask Lita to guest on it. To do a little bit of background vocal or something, a guest spot.
I know some people.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Well, Patrick,
go.
yeah, take us back to your origins and, where were you born and raised and how did you get into guitar?
I was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. They played a lot of Mahogany Rush there.
Oh, yeah, I love that place.
Oh, yeah. And it was at one time called the heavy metal capital of the world. I remember in the 80s when I was finally, my mom let me go to concerts in the late 80s. And I'm the youngest of 7 children, Irish dad, Hispanic mom, no birth control. So I was the 7th accident. And just right out of the crib, my older brother's sisters were playing AC/DC's High Voltage, Aerosmith's Rocks, Kiss Alive, Kiss Destroyer. I remember hearing Judas Priest in 1979 when I was single digits years old. And I was so enamored with the sound that came out of those speakers and that vinyl. And my brother played some guitar and my sisters did a little bit. And I didn't care about sports or school. That instrument might as well have been a sword from a Viking. And my mom, I begged her for a guitar, an electric guitar. And she said, on my 11th birthday, she said, well, I'll get you an acoustic guitar. And if you do good on that, then I'll get you the electric. So I got an acoustic. I got lessons. I learned all the open chords. I learned how to start playing melodies. And my mom was impressed. And on my 12th birthday, I got an electric guitar. And wow, I got this. My grandma bought me this little Marshall amp. And I got another guitar teacher who could shred, and he taught me that Motley Crue tuned the guitar down a whole step, and that's how you play Looks That Kill. He showed me the solo for Breaking the Chains. I remember Red Hot. I remember learning We're Not Gonna Take It. And my mom and my whole family were surprised how I just didn't abandon it like other things. I stayed on it. So by the time I was 14, I had my first band, and we played our 7th grade dance, I think it was, on the intermission. And we played Motley Crue and Queensryche covers. Our drummer was another friend of mine that I still work with today, who could shred drums, played with Louis Belson at the drum off competitions. And it was real. I finally won some guitar. What are those guitar competitions where people shred? And luckily, I had a great teacher later named Ron Jarzombeck from Watchtower, and he's too good for his own good. And he showed me how to shred stuff. And I started, Far Beyond the Sun, Sweep Arpeggios. My mom got me a Marshall full stack, and I didn't have a driver's license yet. And for a minute there, I kind of felt like I was cool. And I just stayed with it. And I finally had bands that would win Battle of the Bands. And man, everything else was not important to me. Of course, family and friends first. But I didn't care about driving a car. I got a driver's license when I was 16, but I wanted to know how to play, Black Star, some of the licks in Black Star from Yngwie Malmsteen. I'd already done Eruption, and it was like a Rubik's Cube, but you couldn't get the last part, so it made you crazy. So I'd always just stay on it and learn how to, do the Paul Gilbert stuff. My mom got me the Paul Gilbert Intense Rock 1 and 2 VHS, and I studied those licks as my Bible. That was my Bible. So
Your mother was good.
Yeah, God bless our moms. It's a story that I hear again and again. Most musicians I've spoke to have had the support of their family. And oftentimes, their moms just think it's great, and God bless our moms.
Yeah, my mother scared all the girls from me because she want me to play piano. That's it. He didn't want me to hang out with any girls.
Happy that we're not on drugs. My mom raised 6 other children before me. I think
I have 7 brothers and sisters too.
Yeah, they go, look at this kid. He's really doing it, and he doesn't even care about drugs or smoking cigarettes. I didn't want cigarettes thing, and it just made sense.
I have 7 too. I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers, so we're 7.
Nice, same, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what happens. At first, music is like this magical kind of thing as a listener. You can't put your finger on it, but it's kind of a magical thing, and it looks exciting. But then when you start to actually play music, it's an amazing experience. It's like, wow, I'm doing it. I'm creating the sound. And then when you start actually playing songs that you have heard and love, like for me, it was in my earliest bands. We were playing Aerosmith and music of the day, and it's like it becomes a symbiotic relationship with the magic. It's like I'm doing it and I'm creating it. I'm playing that part, and then once you do your first performances, you're just hooked in. It's that energy of performing and it coming back to you from the crowd. And that and that you're creating this energy. The best
part is when you write songs. When you create your own music, that's the best part to me.
Yeah, and then it goes to another level when you create your own music. When you create your own music and you get out there and you're doing it, and at that point, it's just it's a cathartic kind of thing. So it's a great joy to perform your own music and have the audience relate to it.
It's better than drugs. It's better than anything. It's elevated consciousness,
Exactly.
And even though sometimes it can frustrate you, it gives you so much joy, and I don't know, it does something inside your brain and heart. I don't know what that is. It's mysterious.
It is. And once you experience it, you want to live there. It's like you're hooked. You're hooked.
Exactly.
But so going through high school, were you in like a series of cover bands, and at some point in your high school days, you meet a fellow named Brian Scott. Can you
Yeah.
take us up through the creation of the underground?
Yeah, Union Underground. Well, I had a few bands and, things started and ended. And Brian Scott was another shred guitar player. We both liked Racer X. We both loved Yngwie Malmsteen and this stuff. And he could also shred like that. So we started a band, and it was a glam band. It was the late 80s, early 90s. We got a singer that looked like Bon Jovi, and girls would flock to our shows. I guess we looked amazing, but screw that. We were playing like Racer X stuff. I think we did some Racer X instrumental covers, and then we would even try to do our own originals, and it was an odd combination. That band disintegrated with the change in music. We didn't want to do grunge, but Brian and I started recording ourselves on these things called Alesis ADATs. They were digital.
Oh, yeah.
We had 24 tracks, a real board. We didn't go to college. We took the college money and we went ahead and made a studio. And then we started recording ourselves. We learned how to program drum machines, this thing called an Akai S1000 sampler.
I remember.
I still have the Alesis. I still have one.
Yeah, those are amazing. And eventually, record companies started listening to our demos, which is crazy. Record companies in California.
Yeah, how does that happen? How do you go from just a couple of guys knocking out their own songs to like actually getting industry attention?
A friend of ours who was an amazing guitar player, his name was John Grell. He had a band called Winter Cat. He played with Robin McCauley. He lived in Los Angeles and worked for a magazine called Music Connection. And he said, I'm going to get you a review in Music Connection, and they're really mean to all the bands. So please don't be mad at me when they say everything that's wrong with your demo. They loved our fucking demo. The thing came out, John called and said, these guys can't believe that you recorded this on your own, on your ADATs. And record companies started checking us out from San Antonio all the way from California. 6 of the labels said no, good band, but no. I was finally done with it. I said, no label's going to sign us. And lo and behold, the last label, Sony Columbia, said, we're doing this. And this guy with a beard, his name is John Kolodner. He had to do with the Aerosmith success. He looks like he's in ZZ Top. He signs our fucking band.
It's incredible, man. It's incredible.
They gave us checks that had 6 figures on them. I'd never received a check that had 6 figures on it. What the hell is that? You're going to give that to guys in their 20s? And yeah, the rest was quick history.
How long that band lasted?
That band lasted, we started in 96. I was done with them by 2002. I had formed the band with Brian. And the label thing, it's the Napster thing shifted the label. They got rid of bands and it all went south. And I moved to California. And here I am now talking to you.
I hear you. Well, the underground band, that all kind of culminated with Ozfest, right?
Yep. They put us on the Ozfest. I remember at one point, back when people were buying CDs, we would sell 5,000 units per week. And that was a lot, at least for us. And it's funny because we barely cracked the Billboard Top 100 moving 5,000 units a week. If you move 5,000 units a week today, you'll hit the Billboard Top 10 or Top 20. So go figure. But yeah, it was, I learned, I could write an encyclopedia probably on what I learned. I try to apply it now, and I think it sustained me, that knowledge. It's not all lobster tails, dancing girls, and limousines. It's not. It's a lot of freaking hard work for everybody, more so now than then. So if you're going to do it, you better like music. You better like working.
Yeah, as long as I can live and like if it was me, as long as I can live and be performing and still writing and recording, I think that would be happiness on earth,
That's what I strive for every day that I wake up.
Well, Patrick, good luck in the oh, wait a minute, we got something going on here. What's up there, Claudio?
That's my first European tour with my holiday rush. I don't recognize myself.
Oh, all right. Yeah, Claudio, man, he's done a lot. He's done a lot of touring, worked with a lot of artists. And so yeah, we love having Claudio along with us here. It's amazing. But Patrick, thanks for the coming on, and good luck with the forthcoming Heaven Below release, and good luck in continuing your work with Lita Ford.
Thank you.
Yeah, that brings us to the end of
Sunday, right?
Oh yeah,
Sunday. What
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
playing?
I'll
Yeah,
be there
don't-
next.
What's the date?
I want to say May 19th, Sunday, May 19th.
Yeah, so there you go. Hopefully this will get
What
out there
time?
just in time. So remember, Patrick's going to be in town doing the Rockin' for Ronnie.
Absolutely.
All right, man. All right, people listening, you can keep in touch with Patrick at heavenbelow.com. Yeah. And of course, find him on social media. You can find Heaven Below on social media, and of course, Patrick Kennison on social media. Plus, find the Rock Music Alliance on Patreon, guys. We're starting that up. And for our exclusive content portion of our interview with Patrick Kennison, go out there to Patreon, find the Rock Music Alliance, and find our exclusive portion with Patrick Kennison. Patrick, thanks for being on our guest today on the Rock Music Alliance interview sessions.
Thank you, Cole. Thank you, Claudio. I'll see you guys soon.
I'm Cole Coleman, and for Claudio Pesavento, the Rock Music Alliance, and the RMA Awards, thanks for watching and listening. Visit us at rockmusicalliance.com and check out this year's RMA Awards for rock, metal, and progressive rock music.